All right, welcome back to the channel. Man, Gervonta Davis hits the nail on the head and says, hey, maybe I should get on the same herbal tea that Oscar Valdez is so that he can juice legally. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Hey, before I get into the subject matter of the video, please subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share. It would be greatly appreciated. Helps the channel grow. I am absolutely stunned. I'm gonna do several videos on this stuff, but I'm telling you, I am absolutely stunned by what the WBC has done with Oscar Valdez, and Gervonta Davis has the perfect response for it, and that is that, hey, maybe I should go do the same thing that Oscar Valdez does, because pretty much the WBC has legalized steroids. And that's the only way that you can describe it. They've legalized steroids. They've told people that are fighting for the WBC that they don't care if you use steroids, as long as, I guess, and I hate to say this, as long as you're Mexican. You know, that's the only reason, because I'm seriously trying to figure out what is the connection for this corruption, because it is absolutely positively corruption to allow to, first of all, in the case of Canelo Alvarez, to have Canelo Alvarez, after he tests positive for performance enhancing drugs, to have them to raise the level, the acceptable level of the drug he was on, so that he can then continue to use the drug, and then to have Oscar Valdez, who's in the same camp, test positive for performance enhancing drugs, and just call a performance, just say, oh, the performance enhancing drug is not a performance enhancing drug, even though the clean boxing program that they prided themselves on, right, which is VADA, which is Voluntary Anti-Doping Administration or agency, to have their standards, which are supposed to be high standards and really keep boxing clean, because they knew that WADA and USADA and other agencies were having a lot of stuff slip by. When they basically say, look, we don't care what VADA says, we're going with the other guy, even though VADA is the one running the program, it's just ludicrous. So when Gervonta Davis says, look, what I should do is, maybe I should get on that herbal tea. Like, at this point in time, you know, that's what everybody's going to have to do to compete, because the WBC has clearly shown that, like what they said on the CBS News, and this is a crazy article where they just blast boxing. It says it is just absolutely apparent that the performance enhancing drug rules in boxing are just for show, that they don't have any intention whatsoever on actually keeping it out of boxing. And you can see it. You can see it in the treatment of Billy Joe Saunders. When Billy Joe Saunders tests positive for, performance enhancing drugs, he's stripped of the WBO belt, but he moves up a weight class and boom, he's right back in there fighting for the WBO belt. The only person that I've seen that has really been slapped hard by anybody for testing positive has been Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Other than that, it's a slap on the wrist, and they keep it pushing. But to just not even slap Oscar Valdez on the wrist just makes you think, like, look, the game is up. There's just steroids is just going to be there to be used, and there's nobody that is going to actually stand up and stop this from happening. So what you'll have now is somebody like Gervonta Davis, who is clean, feeling like Gervonta Davis has to get on the same stuff. Otherwise, he's going to get in the ring with somebody that's a steroid monster, which we've seen. Like, in fact, like one guy that did that was a fight I distinctly remember between Gary Russell Jr. and Oscar Escandon, where you have Gary Russell Jr. hitting this guy with everything but the kitchen sink, and Oscar Escandon pretty much recovering from anything just like that. The dude is running around looking like a bodybuilder, and it's just, if this guy is not on steroids and he's fighting a fair fight, you know what the outcome of the fight's going to be. So, it's just, for me, who really, really does love boxing, it's a sad day, because before, you could say that you could at least try to fool yourself and say that it's guys that are getting over, people that are, have, really complicated, steroid consultants that are allowing them to bypass the tests, right? So you don't really know. But when you enter into an era when somebody like the WBC is just going to flat out tell you, yeah, we know he failed our tests, but what we're going to do is we're going to throw our rules out of the book, and we're going to throw our rules out, and we're going to go find somebody else's rules to use and then go by their rules. Then, it's just, what is the purpose of the whole thing, right? So in my opinion, what needs to happen is that the WBC needs to be thrown out, period. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to get any type of real serious honesty and integrity in the sport of boxing. Because if they're willing to do that, you got to ask yourself this question. If the WBC is willing to do that in broad daylight, what they've done with Oscar Valdez, which is just allow him to use performance enhancing drugs and then give him a pass on it, what are they going to do behind closed? What are they allowing? What other smaller things are they allowing to pass by? And I'm telling you, one of the things that they allowed to pass by was the cheating of Tyson Fury in those Deontay Wilder fights. And it was obvious cheating that we witnessed, and the WBC just backed the cheater because of the money that is involved, the money that's involved in it. I think what's going to need to happen is that the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions, are going to have to do to the WBC what they said that they're going to do to the WBA with all of this with all the championship belts that they have. Is like, look, you guys are just not going to be able to put on fights in the United States of America. And I think people should probably write their senators, write people that are involved in that, and let them know, like, look what these guys are doing. They seriously are just flat out violating their own rules and putting a guy they know is under the influence of performance enhancing drugs, putting him in a ring to fight. That is just, that's like, somebody is coming in with loaded gloves and you just say, oh, we don't care if you're coming in with loaded gloves. Somebody's coming in there cheating, and you just say, hey, well, that's a game. We don't really care about the cheating. Just as long as we've got the money that coming in, that's all we care about. Well, if that's the case, then why are you a sanctioning body? Sanctioning bodies should be there to try to get people out of there. So the sanctioning body that is overseeing these sanctioning bodies needs to step in and sanction them, which is to tell the WBC, look, if you're going to do that type of stuff, keep it out of the United States of America. If you want to allow that type of that kind of lowbrow, obvious cheating to take place, then hey, man, sanction all your fights in Mexico. Don't allow them to sanction fights in the United States where they're going to put American fighters, or they're going to put international fighters' lives at risk because these guys want to make a couple extra bucks. And I'm telling you, they're putting people's lives at risk because if guys like Gervonta Davis and Errol Spence and these guys start really actively using steroids and all that, all it's going to do is hurt the fighters, hurt more fighters. I'm absolutely, if you can't tell by the tone of this video, I'm absolutely disgusted by the WBC. I knew that they would do certain things and let other things slide, right? Where it was like, okay, I can understand because they've got to earn a living. But at this point in time, I just can't even say it, man. It's just out and out corruption standing in the middle of the street. And if nobody does anything to the WBC about it, then that's all you can do is, expect to see the same thing. And honestly, I think this is a bigger scandal in that scorecard with Michael Fox in the WBA, because this is something ahead of time where they know a guy's on steroids and they're going to sanction a fight and let him get in there and fight anyway. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I do understand where Gervonta Davis is coming from. If Gervonta Davis says, look, I'm going to get on steroids too, I'm going to do it, right? Because, hey, otherwise I'm going to have to get in there with this guy and risk my life, against a guy that now has a free pass. He's got a free pass to use Combuterol. He's got a free pass to use this in training. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is not track and field, right? This is not something where somebody's racing somebody. This is something where people are actually hitting people. And you had a young lady die in the sport of boxing just this week. So on top of that death and this, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.